on this Thursday, May 16th, to order. And we have an invocation by me. So I'm going to read a prayer from St. Thomas More. And if you know Thomas More, he was he opposed the separation of Henry VIII from the Catholic Church and refused the annulment marriage of Catherine Aragon. And Pope Pius XI canonized him in 1935 as a martyr, and Pope John Paul II in 2020 declared him a patron saint of statesmen and politicians. So a prayer of good humor by Sir Thomas More. Grant me, O God, good digestion and something to digest. Grant me a healthy body and the necessary good humor to maintain it. Grant me a simple soul that knows to treasure all that is good and that doesn't frighten easily at the sight of evil, but rather finds it the means to put things back in their place. Give me a soul that knows not boredom, grumblings, sighs, or laments, nor excess of stress because of that obstructing thing I call I. Grant me, Lord, a sense of humor. Allow me the grace to be able to take a joke to discover in life a bit of joy and be able to share it with others. We now have the Pledge of Allegiance. Our county clerk will do roll call.
Val Lehman.
Present.
Adam Reeves. Jim Rogal. Natalie Roseman Mendoza.
Here.
Susan Schaefer.
Here.
James Solner. Absent. Jeff Tompkins. Here. George Wendt. Absent. Crystal Abel.
Present.
Jack Abraham.
Present.
Corey Byrne.
Present.
Beverly Bell.
Present.
Lindsay Bloomfield. Absent. Leah Klein. Leah Klein. Absent. Chuck Erickson. Absent. William John Friedrich.
Present.
Eric Hansen.
Present.
Elizabeth Johnston.
Here.
Randall Knapp. Catherine Metzger.
Present.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 absent. So 15 and 5.
We have 15 members present. We have a quorum. We can conduct business. Before public comment begins, the chair will advise board members that there have been a number of requests to provide public comment on a matter that has been the subject of a public hearing before the Zoning Board of Appeals. Individuals who have signed up for public comment under the board's rules will be allowed to speak. But board members should refrain from considering commentary or evidence that was not presented at the ZBA hearing. Ultimately, the board's decision must be based on consideration of evidence presented at the ZBA hearing and the factors establishing the county's zoning ordinance. With that in mind, we will begin public comment. The first person for public comment is Willie Halbert. And you will have 3 minutes. Welcome, Ms. Halbert.
I want to say good evening to everyone. I was here this time last month, and my concern, reiterate, had to do with voting rights in a situation that happened with Terry Evans and her son, where after they had voted, it was questioned if she assisted. She noted that she did, and they ended up having to do an affidavit and a whole host of things that I questioned regarding our policy and procedure what is the protocol for a person to be able to vote, to assist someone in voting. And today, that still has not been clarified. When she goes to vote in November, is she's going to have to bring those documents or what? But mainly the reason why I stand before you today is that after I had finished and I sat down listening to everyone at the very end, Kathy Michaels made the comment and stated that Willie Holton Halbert called her a racist. And that, I received a call that next day from a person who heard it on National Public Radio. When you hear an elected official make a statement, you would believe or deem it to be correct. I have never called Kathy a racist verbally or in writing. I did communicate to individuals that we would want everyone to gather together to share our concern to some things that we saw regarding the voting rights that we felt was not appropriate, that showed some signs of discriminatory practices, and that one of the judges had called, I said allegedly called Kathy. That was the only reference that I have ever used Kathy names in relationship to. I was very disturbed that an elected official, and so much so that afterwards I went up and I spoke to Kathy and I shared with her, why would she make such a statement, a bold statement as that I referred to her as a racist when I would not call anyone that knows me, knows my character, the things I have stand for. I stand for justice and rights for all persons. So I would I ever refer to anyone in that terminology. The communication that I did send out to people, I forwarded to every county board member sitting here today to show exactly what I said. I did make the comment that this brings me back to a time when Black people were not allowed to vote or when we had to take a test to vote. That's our history. That's documented. Nothing in that referred to anyone as a racist. So I wanted to make my presence known and for you to hear from me, from my voice, that is not my character, that does not define me, that is not who I am. I care about people, I care about our community. I have done nothing but in the town of Bloomington Normal, but to support and to go for peace and quality of life for all persons. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Joseph Horn, and he's with Earthrise. Mr. Horn, you will also have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Joseph Horn. I'm an engineering manager with Earthrise Energy. First off, I'd like to thank the council for taking the time to hear me today. I'm here to read a letter on behalf of Ellie Guinness, lead developer for the Gibson City and Archtop Solar project. This is to address discussions of union labor that have come up around the project. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe that the substance of this letter was previously confirmed during the ZBA public hearing on the Archtop Solar project, case SU-24-03, or is a restatement of existing Illinois law, and therefore do not consider this to be new evidence. Archtop Solar will be a union-built utility-scale solar project. Earthrise Energy is committed to using union labor for the Archtop Solar project, and it will be built with the help of several skilled trades, which may include, but is not limited to, operators, electricians, carpenters, and laborers. These unionized professionals will be employed through the engineering, procurement, and construction, or EPC contractor we select for the project. Although we have not finalized the selection of our EPC contractor, all of Earthrise Energy's EPC contractor candidates and their construction subcontractors are required to use union labor on the project and are required to make that commitment in writing. This is a non-negotiable requirement for any partner on Archtop Solar, and it is also a non-negotiable requirement for Earthrise Energy. The EPC contractor is required by law to enter into a project labor agreement as part of Archtop Solar's energy procurement contracts acquired through the Illinois Power Agency's indexed wind, solar, and brownfield renewable energy credits RFP. Further, we are committed to working collaboratively with all stakeholders to ensure a successful project that benefits everyone involved. By employing union labor, we are confident of hiring a skilled and qualified workforce that will complete our project efficiently, safely, and on time. We are pleased that after their significant review of our petition and testimony by the participating property owners, the ZBA unanimously recommended approval of our special use application. We appreciate your time and consideration and respectfully request your approval of that special use. Sincerely, Ellie Guinness. Thank you.
The next speaker is Keaton 4, also with Earthrise.
So, hello, my name is Keaton 4, and just to clarify, I do not work for Earthrise. I work with the Land and Liberty Coalition. I am the state programs director for the Land and Liberty Coalition here in Illinois. We are an organization that supports the rights of landowners and farmers. And I've had the wonderful opportunity to attend meetings here before, and I'm glad to be back in McLean County, as I do have some connections here in McLean County. I have several friends, I have several family members who live here, and my aunt actually used to own the garlic press here in town, so I'm glad to be back. I actually went over there today. So I'm still a downstate boy at heart and by location. I am in Sullivan, Illinois, and I'm here to speak today on the issue of landowner rights and the rights of the farmer. Land rights are not just about ownership. They represent the very foundation of our republic itself. It was here in the prairies of Illinois that Abraham Lincoln, the son of the soil, rose to prominence. His legacy reminds us that the promise of America is deeply rooted in the idea that every individual, regardless of background or circumstance, should have every opportunity to stake their claim and pursue their dreams. Agriculture holds a very special place in my heart, as many of my family members, my friends, and my neighbors, they are farmers. They're the very background of our society and of our nation. They till the earth with the sweat on their brow, nurturing the soil that sustains us all. Their rights extend far beyond property lines. They embody the spirit of resilience and determination that defines our American identity. One of my favorite quotes comes from Paul Harvey that he gave to the FFA, a speech he gave to the FFA back in 1978. And on the 8th day, God looked down on his planned paradise and said, "I need a caretaker." So God made a farmer. The fight for the rights of the landowner is still going on, and as we stand here today, there are still challenges facing farmers and landowners across our state and in our nation. From unfair regulations to economic hardships, it's no secret that big corporations are buying up our farmland and paving over it. This has become quite the issue here in central Illinois. Our local farmers are becoming more and more scarce. We want our local farms to be successful and continue to live on for generations. Since I started in this position, I have heard stories from all over the nation about families facing bankruptcy and losing their land. They were able to make a comeback and continue to do what they love and feed our nation because they took a step forward by diversifying their crops and harvesting energy from the sun. This is simply just another stream of revenue for our farmers and for our landowners, and it is their right to do so. There are several arguments and opinions when it comes to energy, whether it's coal, nuclear, natural gas, hydroelectric, wind, or solar. And I want everybody here to know that myself and my organization, the Land and Liberty Coalition, are for an all-the-above approach when it comes to energy. We want to see everyone take every opportunity they can to profit from the resource of their lands. So I will leave you with this. Liberty, which is freedom, the right of power for one to live his own life without fears, threats, or some sort of retaliation. That's all I got.
The next speaker is Mark Gershon, and he is with Earthrise. He will have 5 minutes.
First, thank you very much for having me this evening. I will promise you I will not take 5 minutes. This evening, we just wanted to cover a couple of things that, again, were all part of the public record at the prior hearing. First, we truly appreciate the detailed review that has been done by your staff, done by the ZBA, and the numerous property owners who spoke at the public hearing. Many of you who had a chance to see the record may already know this, but as part of the record, you'll note that the only people testifying were those who were in favor of the project and one property owner who made it clear that he was not opposed to the project but had questions and in fact, made it clear that he, did not oppose that and said that on the record. What we're really pleased by is that that one property owner has now been working with us since that hearing, and you'll note that he's not here this evening because we are addressing his concerns. As requested, we have met, and as required, I apologize, we have met all of your requirements, all of your standards for this project that was shown both in your staff review, in our application, and our records, and was found by the ZBA. And we're proud of that. But we're also proud of all the benefits this project brings. In addition to meeting the standards that were established to make it a healthy, safe, proper project, we also provide significant economic benefits to the entire community, clean renewable energy, and strong support not only for the property owners who are participating in this project, but also for the workers and for the overall community. It was testified about the dollars and where they go from here. Again, it's been made clear to me that you do not take questions. Our project team is here, but we won't ask you for questions. Then we want you to know they're here because they feel this project is very important. And I really want to end with thanking you for the efforts of the staff, of the ZBA, and for all of you for your time and consideration this evening. Thank you very much.
Our next speaker will be Terry Evans. Welcome, Ms. Evans.
My presence here is pretty simple. I was before you a month ago under the circumstances that took place at the voting poll. My son and I being stopped after coming out of the booth. I was still told after the meeting that I did not have the proper paperwork. After all that was said at this particular meeting, I was still told that I did not have the proper paperwork. So I stand before you asking what exactly is the proper paperwork. I know you can't answer me, but I was approached outside and told this. You were stopped because you didn't have the proper paperwork. My presence here tonight is, like Mrs. Halbert said, I need clarity because we will be back at the polls in November, and I don't plan to be stopped, but I do, and I would like to have clarity on what it is that my son and I did wrong and what is the proper paperwork. We had our ID. I pulled up my guardianship papers, not knowing that I was going to need this at the voting poll. This was not our first rodeo. This was not his first rodeo of going to vote. So I ask you again for clarity so that this does not happen not only to myself and my son, but to others that may come out and have assistance, because that's what I was told. I was asked, did you assist him? Yes, I did. I always do. That's my right. That's my job. But what is the proper paperwork? And so tonight, I don't know how you can get this back to me, but I would love to have clarity for that question. And so moving forward, I can share with other people that this is what's to be expected and or not, because I didn't expect that. I expected in and out. And we were greeted, we were escorted, and told, if you have any questions or need any help, let us know. We went in the booth, we came out of the booth, and we were stopped. And from my understanding is, if there is a discrepancy, it should have taken place before I entered into the booth, not coming out. So I would love to have clarity on the procedure. And that's it. Thank you.
The next person who requested to speak was Stacia Turner. Welcome, Ms. Turner.
I'm here to speak on the topic of the Archtop Solar Project. I strongly support Earthrise Energy's project proposal to construct and operate a utility-scale solar electrical project on our land in McLean County. I want to describe the details about my thoughts and actions as a local landowner for your consideration in the upcoming decisions. Our Jones family has owned land and farmed in McLean County for 5 generations. Given my grandfather Emery, my father Byron, my niece Caitlin, and I have earned degrees in agriculture from the University of Illinois, and my nephew Adam from Iowa State University, we understand the rich history, practical realities, and challenges of farming and the bright opportunities for agribusiness today. Our active engagement in leasing 220 acres of land to Earthrise Energy was driven by our core belief: continuing to build a successful agribusiness producing products that are sustainable. We believe that decarbonizing the production of electricity via solar generation is sustainable and necessary to meet our ever-increasing demand for electricity in Illinois. The state, through its Standard Agricultural Impact Mitigation Agreement, known as AIMA, has proactively laid the groundwork for responsible solar development. Both Earthrise and ourselves endorse AIMA's intent and have enshrined it legally into all of our lease agreements as bedrock principles guiding all of our solar project designs. We are confident that Earthrise can construct and operate a solar project on our land with minimal impact on our neighbors, for example, on tile drainage. My brother George Jones is engaged in establishing cover crops on our land to control soil loss and weed control. From a business point of view, our multi-million-dollar investment in farmland and our ability to pay taxes in McLean County demands a profitable enterprise. Our business approach involves capturing sunlight to grow corn and soybeans via conventional farming and also to make electricity. Our economic models show that this hybrid approach is more robust in managing diverse risks and provides a superior return on our investment. As a farmer facing spiraling input and machinery costs and ever-increasing climate change with drought and excess rainfall, diversification of risk management is prudent, sound management. In closing, my family and I would urge you to authorize Earthrise Energy to construct and operate a solar electrical facility on our land in McLean County. Thank you.
The next speaker will be Ricky Dial Jr. Welcome, Mr. Dial.
Thank you, board members. I appreciate your time. My name is Ricky Dial. I am the Regional Director for the Mid-America Carpenters Regional Council. We represent 5,000 union members in Central Illinois. We also represent 53,000 union members throughout our regional council, which encompasses the state of Illinois, the state of Missouri, Kansas, and about a third of the counties in Iowa. So I'm here tonight to speak in support of the Archtop Solar Project. And the reason we support this project is because Earthrise Energy and their EPC contractors have made a commitment to utilize local and union workforce. That's only going to help strengthen our local taxing bodies. I am based out of the Springfield office, so real quick, I would like to speak on behalf of some existing solar projects that we have going on. Southern Sangamon County, we have a large-scale project called Double Black Diamond Solar. It encompasses 4,500 acres in Southern Sangamon County. There have been over 600 crafts workers on this project with 6 more months to go. So they've been on it for a year and a half. They've got 6 more months to go. Back in February, they reached the mile marker of 1 million man-hours for union construction trades workers. So that's a heck of a feat. Also over in Cass County, Beardstown, we've had over 400 craftspeople working there for 6 months with another 6 months to go. And in closing, these projects have helped to pull a diverse workforce into our construction industry. They've also helped many folks start a family-sustaining career in the construction industry. The Archtop Solar Project has a potential to do the same exact thing in this area. Thank you.
Our next speaker is George Jones. Welcome, Mr. Jones.
Good evening. My name is George Jones, and I would like to speak in favor of the solar project that has been discussed this evening. Specifically, I'd like to talk about the cover crops that were planted. My background in cover crops is I've been a farmer for 37 years. About 8 years ago, my son and I looked into cover crops and what it took to put them on, the benefits of them, and found that it's a direction we needed to head. So we've been using cover crops extensively on all our ground for the last 5 years. When the solar farm was proposed, Earthrise Energy connected with us, and we gave them a lot of options as to what could be done. It was November at the time they contacted us. It was kind of late in the year to start planning anything. We, together with them, put together a plan in place to plant 3-year red clover in the spring. 3-year red clover will not only help improve the soil capacity, water holding capacity, infiltration, but it'll also be very good for all the wildlife in the area. It will be very good for bees, as clover honey, as we all know, is probably one of the best there is. The other things it will do is it will keep down weeds, it will keep down wind erosion, it will keep down soil erosion. So it's a very good thing to plant for what is projected and what they will be doing. We started planting that in the 15th of March, and we finished on the 14th of April. As of today, all that clover is up and growing extremely well, better than even what I had hoped that it would do. By the end of the summer, it will be established, well established, and should give a really good cover crop for the solar farm going forward. I would like to thank you for your time and your consideration of this project, and I hope you all have a good evening. Thank you.
Our final speaker is Mr. Jim Farley. Welcome, Mr. Farley.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with the McLean County Board tonight. It's in regard to the Earthrise Solar Project between Gibson City and Saybrook. My wife, Margie, and I are proud to farm 2 Century farms within the county. And this means they've been in continuous ownership and operation within the family for more than 100 years. I'm a 7th-generation farmer myself, having long-term roots in agriculture. My son Chris is a farmer, and my grandson Lincoln will be a farmer. So that makes 9 generations that'll be farming here in Illinois. For us, the decision to work with Earthrise Solar Project, it was an opportunity for us to, as a family, diversify our farm and provide long-term income for our next generation and to make the best and highest use of our farmland. We are located at the far south end of this project, bordered by a railroad track that runs diagonally through one of our farms. This creates a lot of what we call point rows, a kind of a triangle. And they're tricky to farm, inefficient, and for this landlocked piece of ground, it will provide an income stream that is headache-free for us. As farmers, we strongly adhere to the concept of private property rights. This project will provide a clean source of electricity to my neighbors and the citizens of our state. We support these efforts and ask that you approve the permit for this solar project. Thank you.
That concludes our appearances in public. We now have a presentation by Ray Lai for regional planning. And Mr. Lai, welcome.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity, Madam Chair and members of the County Board, as well as this administration. My name is Ray Lai. I'm the Executive Director of the McLean County Regional Planning Commission. With me is Mark Adams. He's a committee planner with our agency. And I appreciate your interest in the topic of housing in our community. And next slide, please. What's regional housing recovery plan? That we try to give you like a high-level summary, and I believe you all have an electronic version of the document. We got a state grant last year sometime and to develop a housing plan, a regional housing recovery plan. After a 7-month planning process with the assistance of a consultant based out in Indiana, that we were able to complete the process along with the assistance of a steering committee made up of representatives from different sectors related to housing. And the purpose of this plan really is to have research and analysis, as well as come up with recommendations and strategic strategies for the recovery of the housing sector, from the impact of COVID-19 in our county. Next slide, please. So we went through a 7-month process, different steps. Just to summarize, basically, is from data collection to data analysis, also heavy committee involvement, and we'll go into that a little bit deeper, and then come up with a draft plan that we also made available for public review and comment, and then ending up with a final plan that was adopted by the McLean County Regional Planning Commission not too long ago. Next slide, please. So we just want to point out a number of tools that we have utilized in terms of public engagement, and I want to point out that some of you participants as part of that planning process and public engagement, we appreciate that. We conduct a housing needs survey. So we receive about 1,200 responses from households, and not individuals, but from households. And that's pretty good, considering the nature of the subject, and also it was a trilingual survey that we conducted. We've done interviews, one-on-one, and also group interviews. We had stakeholder workshops, a public forum, hybrid. Some of you did attend and participated back in like a cold winter night back in January. And also, as I said, there was public review and comment period for the public, anybody to provide comments to the draft document. Next slide, please. There were 23 questions in the survey. I was not going to go through every one of them, but just a sample. One question of the 23 questions was, since the pandemic, what kind of difficulty affording the housing costs? So as you can see, it's a half-half. What's that mean, for housing costs to our citizens? Next, please. You can tell a public forum, it was standing room only. We really appreciate people raising the call to come out for their public forum. And many of them, they were amazed that we even have a public forum, because many of them do care about housing, but there hasn't been like a convening like this for them to express their opinion and provide input. So we really appreciate everybody who came out, who joined also virtually. So some of the key findings from the committee engagement: limited affordability, housing options, especially for people who could be young professionals, seniors, or different stages of their life, have different housing needs. And also limited housing diversity, not just single-family detached housing, but could be attached single-family, could be multi-family. There's different housing types that would fit the needs of the different individuals, families, and whatnot. Barriers to access costs, especially for the renters. A lot of times they have to pay a lot of money up front, not even knowing whether they can get the units or not, because they to pay for the different checking, credit checks, and then have to pay upfront maybe a few months. Even they get the units, they have to pay for security deposit and whatnot. And a lot of times, for some renters, it could be a burden. competitive markets, we know the supply and demand, right? We know because there's a high demand, especially with some major employers expanding in our area, and then making the lower vacancy and as a supply and demand, so the cost, especially for not just the home owner, single family, but also for rental properties, multifamily have gone up. Some of the public concerns that were brought to our attention through the surveys and the other opportunities, there's limited public transportation for them to go home to and from work in NIMBY, not in my backyard type mentality, and also the need for more diverse representation in the future planning efforts. Next slide, please. The next slide, few slides, show just really a sample. There are more data in the plan document that you can refer to, but just want to use a few slides just to give for context purposes. Workforce housing shortage, because the last few years, the demand for housing, because more employees coming to this area, causing more high housing demand. But that because we meaning the area, since 2008, we haven't had that many newer homes built because the demand wasn't there until major employers want to expand, want to establish their business here, which is a good thing. This is a good problem to have, but also recognizing some of the employees do have to commute, some more than 45 minutes. Some are by choice, but some also because they cannot find housing within their budget and whatever reasons in our area, and that would impact the tax base, right? Because they do pay tax, and if we were able to capture them in McLean County, then that would be a great plus. Next slide, please. These two graphs just showing between Town of Normal and City of Bloomington how many units, housing units they have approved. It's over 1,000, ranging from multifamily to single family. But the next slide also show for the unincorporated county. As we all know, we haven't had that many, generally under 30 per year on average for the last several years, but mostly single family detached. Next slide, please. Rise in homelessness, it's two factors that you all know. That because of the declining supply, vacancy, and then the cost goes up, and that's not unusual because this slide, especially on the right-hand side, can reflect what's happening in the country. Next slide, please. Again, the graphs, bar chart on the left-hand side shows how the multifamily vacancy has gone down over 20-some years. But then again, the graph on the right-hand side showing, especially the last few years, that the rent has gone up. Next slide, please. Rising housing values, housing costs, nothing that you don't know. A lot of people do pay a lot of their income for housing. Next slide, please. Aging housing stock, most of in the county, most of the housing are about 50, 60 years old. On the left column, the most left column, last few years there hasn't been that many new units. But we all know that, but I think the development committee is trying to catch up, and the city and town and county have approved a number of units. Next, please. So Mark is going to go through some of the strategic recommendations contained in the report, and that kind of give the highlights, what the next steps, what are some of the recommendations that we would ask you to consider, not just as for the board, but then it's a committee-wide issue, then we would love for the public also to participate in the solutions. Mark.
So we'll start off with the high-level goals, and really we're just going to look at the high-level goals. The implementation matrix that's in the Housing Recovery Plan goes down a little bit further, action items, who could be potentially responsible, et cetera. But just to keep things brief, we're just going to focus on the high-level goals. So first and foremost, it means coordinating on regional resources, establishing an intergovernmental housing implementation committee that would be both cross-sectoral and intergovernmental. It would also include defining specific goals and metrics, establishing a performance tracking and reporting. This would also include a one-page action plan that implementation committee would create, understanding what they are trying to accomplish over a certain period of time, tailored to what those individuals decide upon. So something that's a little bit more concrete. A partnership with regional planning organizations and also continuing to build rapport with other regional housing plans in the state to understand best practices. The second goal is the housing coordinator, hiring and assigning of a housing coordinator, creating a resource guide, facilitating collaboration between stakeholders, and using inventory for informed decision-making and resource allocation. It's very important that any kind of housing planning or coordination include ongoing and updated information, and that also requires collaboration. Next slide, please. Goal number 3 is increasing access to information and resources. It includes developing a centralized housing information hub where there are opportunities for developments throughout the county, and that would be helpful for development purposes. Launching a housing education campaign to illustrate to the public what affordable housing is, and why it is important that individuals with fixed incomes and also individuals who are not working for the private sector can stay in our county, such as teachers, firefighters, and policemen. We want to make sure that they can stay here. And so it's important that we have an education understanding what affordable housing means. And then extending the Housing Stability Navigator program. If you're not familiar, Janet Hood up in the right-hand corner there, she works at Mid-Central Community Action. She is the Housing Stability Navigator. She works on a one-on-one basis with families who are precariously housed, or you might know that as basically doubling up, who don't necessarily have their own home, but they're just kind of moving from place to place just to make ends meet. So that Housing Stability Navigator is about halfway through their term in terms of their contract with the city and town, but there would need to be an extension beyond that. Goal number 4 is expanding housing development opportunities. This is where most of the zoning and the elected bodies can come in directly, and that's including conducting the reviewing of housing ordinances, establishing overlay districts, developing inclusionary zoning ordinances, and expanding housing mix options. With the overlay districts, if you're not familiar, it's just basically adding another layer to a certain area, a selected area, that could be used to facilitate more housing development without a complete zoning overhaul. And it's usually a very distinct or separate area rather than a whole large district. So overlay districts can be a solution there just to have something manageable. And then also developing inclusionary zoning ordinances. These are very common throughout the country. Essentially, it just requires or incentivizes developers to include a certain percentage of their projects to affordability purposes. So that might mean 10, 20% of their units are going to be affordable to those who are making 80% of the area median income and less. And so that is very common. It's becoming more and more common throughout the country. And housing mix options would be permitting the missing middle typology such as duplexes, triplexes, and the like. So next slide, please. Goal number 5 is maximizing funding and partnership. This includes establishing an affordable housing trust fund. There are over 820 affordable housing trust funds in the country that are both city and or county examples. Most of them are facilitated by cities' planning development or economic and community development departments, but there are several county ones. And really important to know that this has been a best practice and is very critical for making sure that there is additional buffer funding for affordable housing besides just what's currently available. Advocating for state-level economic development policies, supporting local land banks and community land trusts, as well as partnership opportunities for preservation and maintenance. There is the Central Illinois Land Bank Authority that currently serves Decatur and Danville and Champaign County. McLean County is within their jurisdiction, but does require a contract and funding as well. And there is the Bloomington Normal Community Land Trust that is looking to basically secure home ownership opportunities for low-income families through a community land trust model. And that will serve just Bloomington Normal for that purpose. And partnership opportunities for preservation and maintenance. That includes, of course, rehab. Our current stock, as Ray had shown, we have over 2/3 of our housing stock in the county is older than 2000. And as we age as a county, that needs to be adjusted, and we need to continue to invest in our homes. Goal number 6, supporting our vulnerable populations. This includes coordinating IDA listening sessions or the Illinois Housing Development Authority, securing McLean County Behavioral Health Coordinating Council coordination and funding for the purpose of permanent supportive housing, facilitating public endorsement match for low-income housing tax credit applicants or LIHTC with permanent supportive housing units. Next slide, please. And last but not least, we have goal number 7, increase access to information and resources. This includes collaborating with employers who are looking to expand and retain their employees and making sure that they have adequate housing so they can keep their employees happy and not having to commute long distances. Also, we have the Initiate a Landlord Risk Recovery Fund. It also is referred to as a Landlord Incentive Fund. One of the more successful examples we've seen is in the city of Rockford. The city of Rockford basically has a Landlord Incentive Fund that will incentivize landlords to have basically the incentive to house precariously housed individuals who may have more credit challenges, but at the end of the day, that fund basically provides an additional security deposit. And also, there are other best practices there that can also include incorporating a weatherization incentive for property owners, again, to help us house those who don't necessarily have the credit background or are facing other issues as well. So that's a little bit on the goals. And then Ray, you're going to take next steps.
This is the last slide that we have been doing. Some committee presentations, such as tonight. We are looking into forming an implementation committee. We're still studying different models. What's the best practices? That's yet to be seen, but we have been studying that because it's not just our agency, but it's really a committee. It's a regional issue to work on. The third thing is, again, this is immediate steps. We've been looking for grant opportunities to see if there's anything out there that could further support the implementation. So there are some that we're looking into it, just so you know too. So appreciate the time and opportunity in having us too. Thanks.
Thank you very much. We will move to number 7, which is consent agenda. And may I have a motion to put, we have a motion by Member Abraham and a second by Member Abel. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of accepting that consent agenda, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. We will now move to 7G, and that would be the approval of resolutions and congratulations and commendations. And we will start with G1, so 7G1, Mental Health Awareness Month, and Ms. Schaefer.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's May, and May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I think I've been up here several times to say that, so I'm here again to talk about Mental Health Awareness Month. But it's not just a month. It's every single day, 365 days a year, that we have to make sure that we're aware of our mental health, whether it's our mental health, our friends' mental health, our neighbors, whatever, our families. And so I have with me tonight Colleen O'Connor, who is the president of NAMI Mid-Central Illinois. And she's also an amazing person because she also teaches mental health first aid, and she also is our Ending the Silence teacher for like 3,000 students in McLean County. So that's who I have with me tonight. So I'm just going to read this proclamation. McLean County Board proclamation proclaiming May 2024 as Mental Health Awareness Month. Whereas 1 in 5 people will experience a mental health issue in any given year, and everyone faces challenges in life that can impact their mental well-being, and whereas there is a growing awareness about the importance of mental health and its impact on the well-being of all individuals, including children, adults, families, and communities. And whereas this year's theme for National Mental Health Awareness Month is Where to Start, Mental Health in a Changing World. And whereas people seeking mental wellness can more easily succeed if they know where to start and if they are provided access to necessary services and support in their communities. And whereas the community members participating in courses offered through McLean County's Mental Health First Aid Collaborative learn basic skills to identify, understand, and respond to signs of mental health and substance use challenges. And whereas McLean County has a vast network of mental well-being resources, which include government agencies, private practices, nonprofit organizations, schools, churches, hospitals, and more. And leaders from these organizations are dedicated to leading residents who are in need of these resources. And whereas there's a proven connection between good mental health, overall personal health, and community stability, now therefore be resolved by the McLean County Board to hereby proclaim the month of May as Mental Health Awareness Month. As McLean County Board members, we also call upon all government agencies, public and private institutions, businesses, and schools to continue our commitment to increase awareness and understanding of mental health and substance use issues, to work to reduce stigma and discrimination, and to promote appropriate and accessible services for all who seek help, adopted by the McLean County Board on the 16th day of May 2024.
Hi, everybody. I really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this, to help us as we celebrate the fact that this is a great month to be thinking about how we take care of ourselves and how we take care of our community. So I think probably everybody in the room already knows lots of reasons why it's important to be aware of mental health and all the different ways that it impacts us. But I would like to just share a few thoughts about my connection to mental health and specifically the idea of having a place to start and why that is so important. So as Susan shared, my name is Colleen O'Connor. I work for Project Oz, and I also am the executive director of the local chapter of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, which is NAMI Mid-Central Illinois. And if you have met me before, you probably know that mental health is a topic that's really close to my heart, both professionally but also personally. So we also heard a little bit about Ending the Silence. So that is a program that I run at Project Oz that is also a partnership with NAMI. And it is an evidence-based suicide prevention and mental health education program that prepares young people to recognize and respond to warning signs for mental health challenges. That program we provide at every public junior high school and high school in the county. So if you have a young person in your family who has been in junior high or high school anytime recently, I have probably met them. So I get to talk to over 3,000 students every year. And it's a big task teaching someone how to recognize and respond. And the way that we do that is by focusing on two things: information and connection. Because obviously we need information. Students need to be able to understand, how do you notice when somebody is struggling? How do you tell the difference between someone who's having a bad couple days and someone that might be really having a hard time with their mental health? Once you notice those things, what should you do? How do you start a conversation? Who do you talk to? Where do you go? But we also know that information by itself isn't enough, because you can know what to do, but if you don't feel safe, if you don't feel like it's okay to speak up, to ask for help, then it's really, really difficult to do that. And a lot of people get stuck feeling like they can't speak up. So that's why we also focus so much on connection. We know that stigma is the biggest barrier when it comes to receiving the support that we deserve, but we also know that the best way to reduce stigma is by sharing personal experiences. So that's a huge part of this program as well. I and my coworker, we share our own lived experience with mental illness so that students can see that lots of people go through this and that it's okay, and that if they're struggling, they're not alone. And most importantly, that it really is possible for life to be good again. So for many students, this functions as their place to start. We have a system within the program where students can ask for support and get connected right away with resources at school. And every year, we have about 300 to 400 students who reach out directly through that system and start seeing a school counselor. And then we also know lots more that get connected in other ways, like going home and talking to their mom or texting the crisis text line. So that feels really good to know that those students won't have to wait any longer to start that journey to feeling okay. I also volunteer as the executive director for NAMI Mid-Central, and a lot of people know about NAMI as a concept, but maybe not about what we actually do. So NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, which is the nation's largest grassroots mental health agency. So we are a group of volunteers who all either have experienced mental illness or love someone who experiences mental illness. And we focus on support, education, and community. So we provide every month free support groups for people who are struggling and for people who love someone. Those are on the the third Saturday of the month from 1 to 2 p.m. at West Olive Faith United Methodist Church in Bloomington. Free, everybody is welcome. We'd love to see you. We also are going to be hosting an education class for people who care about someone with mental illness later this year. And if anyone would like to learn more, would like to join us, we'd love to see you. And you can visit our website, which is namimidcentral.org, to learn more. But we often are also that place to start for people who just aren't really sure where to go or who to talk to, or if there's anyone out there who's going to understand, because there always is. And then I do also teach mental health first aid and youth mental health first aid. And I think the best part about that is it gives people a place to start for helping others. If you want to do something, if you want to start a conversation, but you don't know what to say, that course will teach you. And then you can feel equipped to be making that difference. But where this all comes from for me is I started struggling with my mental health when I was 10 years old. And it took a long time for me to get the right diagnosis, the right treatment, and the right support so that life could feel okay. And it got worse before it got better. And my parents did not know where to start. And I was too young to know where to start. And my story is not rare. We know that in this country, the average amount of time it takes between starting to struggle and getting treatment is 8 to 10 years, which is a very long time, especially when you're 10 years old. So I think that's the goal of having a place to start, is that you don't wait 10 years, that it starts to get difficult, you start to get support, and it starts to get better without a lot of time in between. And I think the more we talk about this, the more we share, the more we can be open, the more we can close that gap, and people can get the support that they deserve to live the kind of life that they deserve. So thank you all.
7G2, and that is going to be presented by Eric Hansen. It's recognizing men as equal partners in the League of Women Voters.
Hello. So this is a really cool topic for me to get to discuss. I am a member of the League of Women Voters. I'm joined up here by Diana Hellman, president of our McLean County League. Oftentimes people hear about the League of Women Voters and they think of its association with the suffrage movement and that it is exclusive to women, and that is simply not the case. A couple of years ago, my fiance and I went to a league event to learn more about what they were doing within our community, and we were very happily shocked to find out that men are in fact part of the League of Women Voters. It's an organization that promotes democracy and knowing who your candidates are and voter rights. It's truly a nonpartisan organization just meant to equip voters. So with all of that, I think I will go ahead and read our proclamation. Proclamation recognizing men as equal partners in the League of Women Voters for 50 years. Whereas the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan, grassroots organization working to protect and expand voting rights and ensure everyone is represented in our democracy. Whereas the League of Women Voters was founded in 1920, the same year the 19th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution was passed. Whereas the League of Women Voters works to empower voters and defend democracy. Whereas the League of Women Voters has over 700 state and local leagues, including the McLean County League of Women Voters, founded in 1936. Whereas anyone over the age of 16 is eligible for membership. whereas 18% of the members of the McLean County League of Women Voters are men. Whereas to be more inclusive and recognize the importance of the male voice, the National League of Women Voters voted at their 35th biennial convention in San Francisco, California in May of 1974 to include men as full members. Now, therefore, the 16th day of May, we honor and congratulate the men who have joined the League of Women Voters over the last 50 years as equal partners in making our community stronger by defending democracy and empowering voters, and further wish them continued success.
Thank you for recognizing this anniversary. Locally, we have about 125 members. 18% are men, and actually 20% of the people sitting here that are elected officials are part of the League of Women Voters. We were trendsetters 50 years ago. We admitted men to the League of Women Voters. A few years later, organizations like Rotary and Toastmasters and Kiwanis began admitting women to their male-only organizations. So I like to think that we started a good progression here. Today, as Eric said, we defend democracy, we empower voters. That's our mission. And we work throughout the county, with the schools, with the folks running for office to help get the information out so that our voters can make informed decisions. So thank you again for recognizing our anniversary.
We will move to standing committees, and that's number 8 on the agenda, and 8A is Executive Committee, and our Vice Chair, Elizabeth Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. Executive Committee brings 6 items for action. Item 8A1A is request approval of an ordinance of the McLean County Board to amend Chapter 160 of the McLean County Code, alcoholic beverages, and I so move.
May I have a second? I have a second by Member Byrne. Is there any discussion? No questions, no discussion. All in favor of the ordinance amendments in Chapter 160 of the Alcoholic Beverages Code, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. The floor is yours again, Vice Chair.
Thank you. Next item is item 8A1B, request approval of an emergency appropriation ordinance amending the McLean County fiscal year 2024 combined annual appropriation and budget ordinance for Fund 0163, and I so move.
May I have a second? I have a second by Member Bell. Any discussion, questions? All in favor of the emergency appropriation? This is a 2/3 vote, so if you are voting no, we need to acknowledge that. But all in favor of the amended combined annual appropriation budget ordinance for Fund 0163, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes unanimously, and the floor is again yours, Vice Chair.
Thank you. Next item is item 8A1C, request approval of an ordinance of the McLean County Board setting salaries of the members of the McLean County Board, and I so move.
May I have a second? We have a second by Member Abraham. Discussion. Seeing no discussion, all in favor of the ordinance for the McLean County Board salaries, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes, and the floor is again yours, Vice Chair.
Thank you. Next item is 8A1D, request approval of an ordinance of the McLean County Board establishing the annual salary of the circuit clerk, county auditor, and coroner. And
May I
I
have
so
a
move.
I'm so sorry, and that motion is by Johnson. I need a second. I have a second by Member Hanson. Any discussion or questions? Member Tompkins.
Thank you, Chairperson Metzger. Fellow members of the board, I originally intended this evening to ask that this item be tabled from our discussion, but I was informed very promptly by our esteemed council that it would unduly burden the process moving forward with some statutory deadlines that we have to meet. So I'm not going to do that. But I did want it on record that I feel that the proposed salary and raise increase for the county coroner is not adequate and does not reflect the on-call nature of the job and the expertise and very unique situation that our coroner's office possesses. And I just wanted to be on record as saying I think that raise is a little on the thin side, and wish as a board member there would have been more time in advance to discuss these items. But with that being said, I just wanted to note the record with my feelings. Thank you.
Any other discussion or comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the ordinance for the annual salaries for the circuit clerk, county auditor, and coroner, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. The floor is again yours, Chair, Vice Chair.
Thank you. Next up item is 8A 1E, and that is request approval of an ordinance by the McLean County Board amending Chapter 108, Personnel Policies and Procedures of the McLean County Code, a distracted driving policy, and I so move.
May I have a second, please? I have a second by Member Abraham. Any discussion? Seeing no discussion, all in favor of amending Chapter 108 and adding the code to have a distracted driving policy, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. And once again, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Our final item under Executive Committee for Action is item 8A 1F, and that is request approval of an amended McLean County ARPA funding agreement with Hudson, Illinois, and I so move.
May I have a second? We have a second by Member Lehman. Any discussion? Questions? All in favor of the amended ARPA funding agreement with the Village of Hudson, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. And you have the floor again, Vice Chair.
Thank you. We have no more items for action, and our general report can be found on pages 25 to 32 of the unapproved minutes.
Thank you so much. We're going to 8B, and that's Finance Committee, and Chairman William Friedrich.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Finance Committee brings 4 action items before the full board. Those are item 8B1A, and it reads, request approval of a resolution establishing the budget policy for fiscal year 2025, and I so move.
May I have a second? I have a second by Member Schaefer. Discussion, comments? Seeing none, all in favor of the resolution to establish the budget policy for the fiscal year 2025, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. And the floor is again yours, Chairman.
Thank you. Our second item is item 8B1B, and it reads, request approval of Section A calendar for preparation of the fiscal year 2025 budget, 5-year capital improvement budget, and I so move.
And I need a second. We have a second by our Vice Chair Johnston. Questions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the calendar preparation for fiscal year 2025 for our, and the capital budget, or excuse me, capital improvement budget, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion passes, and the floor is again yours, Chairman.
Thank you, Madam. Our third item is 8B1C, and it reads, request approval of an ordinance of the McLean County Board adopting Article 4 of Chapter 320, Taxation, to establish a Property Assessed Clean Energy PAC program, PACE, and a PACE area to finance and/or refinance the acquisition, construction, installation, or modification of an energy project, providing for the issuance of not to exceed 75 million taxable dollars PACE revenue notes of the county to finance projects pursuant to the county's PACE program, and I so move.
May I have a second on that, please? We have a second by Member Rogal. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, all in favor of the ordinance for the county's PACE program, say aye. Opposed? That motion passes, and the floor is again yours, Chairman.
Thank you, Madam. Our last item for action is item 8B1D, request approval of a program development and administrative service agreement between the County of McLean, Illinois, and the Illinois Energy Conservation Authority, NPF, and I so move.
And may I have a second on that? I have a second by Member Abel. Any discussion or questions? Seeing none, going to vote on the approval for the program for program development and administrative services between McLean County and the Illinois Energy Conservation Authority. Say aye. Opposed? That motion passes, and the floor is again yours, Chairman.
Thank you, Madam. We have no other action items, and our general report can be found in the unapproved minutes, pages 7 through 19, and I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We are moving to 8C, and that would be the Health Committee, and our chair is Susan Schaefer.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. Health Committee did not meet this month, so therefore we have no actions for item, and we do not have a general report. Thank you.
Thank you. 8D, and that's the Justice Committee, and our Vice Chair, Bev Bell. You have one item, I believe.
Yes, the Justice Committee has one item to present. Request approval of sponsoring research agreement between Illinois State University and McLean County. Dr. Frank Beck. Those remarks can be found on 241254, and it's a continuing agreement that we've had with the criminal justice coordinator contact for research. This research has been going on since 2012. That's all I have.
And you so move,
And
correct?
I so move, excuse me.
All right, very good, thank you. And we have a second by Member Tompkins. Is there any discussion? We do have,
Just a reminder that I need to be on the record as abstaining on this vote.
all right, so we have an abstention from Vice Chair Johnston. So considering that, all in favor of the research agreement between Illinois State University and the County of McLean, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. And the floor is again yours, Vice Chair Bell.
D2A, items to be presented for information. It's a general report, and we have no other items to be presented at this time.
Very good, thank you so much. We are moving to 8E, and that would be Property Committee, and we have Chair Val Lehman.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. The Property Committee has no items to be presented for action this evening. Moving on to items for information, we've got our meeting minutes that can be found in the general report, and I'd be happy to entertain any questions.
Seeing no additional questions, that moves us to 8F, and that's Land Use and Development Committee, and we have Vice Chair Friedrich, I believe. Is that correct? Is it? I have land use first. F.
Okay. Land use brings no items for action this evening, and our general reports are in the unapproved minutes. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Now we're going to 8G, and we have our Chairman, Jim Rogal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The Transportation Committee has no items to be presented for action, and our general report can be found on pages 2 through 3 of the unapproved minutes.
Thank you, Chairman Rogal. And our last, we have 8 6H, and that is our County Administrator, Ms. Cassie Taylor.
Thank you, Chair Metzger. I bring no items for action this evening.
And any other business or communications for number 9 to bring forward? Seeing none, we will go to number 10, and that is adjournment. Thank you so very much.